Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble news channel. Bitcoin is a form of money that can be used anywhere in the world and is held securely by itself. You can at least take care of it yourself, and even when you look at other coins, this one is the biggest, most liquid, and safest. This means that Bitcoin is the best way to send $1 billion anywhere in the world. Then there are the network effects that come with that. It gets safer as it gets bigger, more liquid, and more valuable, which makes people want to own it even more. For this reason, price is a key sign of acceptance. It doesn't matter what happens in a year, 2 years or 3 years over, say, 4 years, you want to see higher highs and higher lows in Bitcoin because that means people are starting to use it. Alex Jordanov recently interviewed Lyn Alden, a well-known financial analyst and investment strategist who is known for her insightful study on Bitcoin. In the interview, she talked about a range of topics, such as energy and Bitcoin's chances of becoming widely used. Alden says that Bitcoin is a form of money that can be used anywhere in the world, can't be censored, and keeps its own value. It has the ability to become one of the biggest money systems in the world. She thinks that Bitcoin's ease of use, safety, and network effects make it a good choice for people and businesses that want to send big amounts of money across borders. Alden also says that instability is an important part of Bitcoin's growth because it makes it more likely that people will use it. She figures out how healthy the Bitcoin network is by looking at its price, how liquid it is, and its network effects, such as the growth of global places where Bitcoin fans are starting businesses and communities. Alden is positive about Bitcoin's future and points out that there are many people from many countries and areas who want a decentralized money system to work. She thinks that as these hubs grow, Bitcoin will turn into a network worth many trillions of dollars, much bigger than any single stock. Price is a very important sign. When it comes to adoption, it doesn't matter what happens every 1, 2, or 3 years. What you want to see is higher highs and higher lows in Bitcoin over, say, 4 years. This shows that adoption is happening. And yes, volatility is important because you want an object to go up in value when it is small. There's no way to go from a Bitcoin, which has a market cap of about $1 trillion, to something else. And it went from nothing to $1 trillion. It hit $1 trillion during a weak market for about 12 years. It's back to $1 trillion now. Not having potential volatility will not let you get that. And when there is upside instability, there is also leverage and, for a while, too much enthusiasm. And that's what causes times of falling prices. That's why it can't reach its full potential market without volatility going both ways. Now, once Bitcoin gets closer to whatever its total potential market is. So for example, you might ask yourself what percentage of your liquid net worth you want in a peer-to-peer money account that is widely portable, self-custodial, and portable. The best answer is probably a pretty large percentage of your liquid net worth. A very small number of people even own any at the moment, and those who do generally only own a small amount. So I think the number of people who use it is still going up. I think it will be a multi-trillion-dollar network in the end. And so I think the instability will be there until it gets to that more mature stage. When it comes to Bitcoin as a whole and the health of the Bitcoin network, one of the main ways I measure it is by price and liquidity, but also by the network effect of all the people who use Bitcoin. So all the different hubs that show up. In El Salvador, Bitcoin Beach was one of the first. They finally got the whole country to adopt it, or at least the president did, and then the rest of the country slowly caught on. Then we saw places like Bitcoin Ecosia in South Africa and Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica. Today, there are a lot of new hubs, and we're in Bitcoin Atlantis, which is one of them. It's a good name since you're on the island of Madeira in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But what happened was that, a few years ago, a group of Bitcoin fans really paid attention to this territory and said, let's make this a little more Bitcoin dense. From people who have been here for a while, we can see that a lot more businesses accept it and a lot more people hold it now than they did a few years ago. That's what you see in these world's little hubs. So, I believe that it's good for the Bitcoin network for these hubs to grow. It's not a good idea to have all of your Bitcoins in a single ETF. You want to see Bitcoin spread out in all of these different places, in all of these different countries. Talking to people from all over the world at these conferences makes me feel really hopeful. For example, I just finished talking to a woman from Saudi Arabia, a man from Bolivia, and another man from Colombia. There are also a lot of people from Bulgaria, Australia, Malaysia, the US, and other parts of Europe. That's right, a lot of people from Africa. Many people from the Middle East are here, and everyone has the same goal in mind. After that, a lot of them go home and build things. Part of the network effect is that they're building businesses and neighborhoods. Part of the reason it became one of the biggest money systems in the world is because of that. A lot of people have wrong ideas about energy, and I guess I pay extra attention to it since I used to work as an electrical expert. I'm aware of some of the waste, but in general, energy isn't fully interchangeable. You can't just move energy from one place to another without paying for it. Moving it too far uses more energy than it did to make it in the first place. Take power as an example. You can only move it a few hundred miles or kilometers before the costs of doing so become too high. So both the energy and the grid have to stay in balance all the time. There are changes in both supply and demand throughout the day and throughout the year. And that difference has to be put to use or it's not useful. Every day, grids and other things lose orders of magnitude more energy than the Bitcoin network itself. One thing the World Bank found was that natural gas burning, so you get oil out of the ground when you drill. It doesn't come with enough gas to build a tunnel or take the gas. This isn't about money. If you're only getting a little, what do? They just set it on fire. They only set good energy on fire. And also pollutes the air. It leads to pollution. They can't do anything else with it. If you put Bitcoin miners on site, you can run that natural gas through them to power them and at least get a couple of cents a kilowatt for the extra energy. The methane is changed into carbon dioxide when that is run through it. It works better than burning it, so it has less of an effect on the environment and you make money from it. However, the World Bank shows that the amount of energy wasted by flaring natural gas around the world every year is about 8 times the amount of energy used by Bitcoin. Hydro isn't being used. There's a lot of clean hydroelectricity that's not being used, and they just know it. People move to that area after this huge water dam is built, but it takes time. Or maybe people aren't moving there at all. It's just power that wasn't being used when China built a lot of water. It takes place in parts of Canada and Norway's north. Let's look at an example. There's just empty hydro and Bitcoin does something different from a data center. It can handle slow speeds and low availability. It can go to faraway places and be wherever there is power. So it has that kind of adaptability to it. Most of the money that goes into Bitcoin mining goes to power. A small amount of money is spent on hardware and staff, but power is by far the most important thing. They can go to any area and say, hey, we just want your cheapest electricity price. We'll be the first ones to turn off because we have the freedom to do so. Let us know if you need to shut off for 2 hours a day or whenever there's a demand spike or a supply cut. We can charge the least amount of money for power when it's available. In a nutshell, it fixes all the little holes and flaws in the system. Sometimes there are too many Bitcoin miners in one place at one time and people say, oh look, all these Bitcoin miners. On the other hand, those who live in places where energy is scarce are less competitive with their peers because their costs go up. So Bitcoin miners will spread out, and they already have, to all the little spots around where there's extra power. The image I like best is gridless.